In this demo, we're going to see how to overload functions and the tooling support for them provided by Visual Studio Code. If I were actually running a library, I imagine one of the things I might want to be able to do is to gather a list of book titles based on different criteria. In this demo, I'm going to build an overloaded function named getTitles that lets me retrieve an array of titles either by author name or based on whether or not the book is already checked out. To create an overloaded function, I first need to define the signature for each of the overloads. The first one I'm going to define will take a string as a parameter and will be the name of the author whose books I want to retrieve. The function will return an array of strings, so I'll add that to the signature as well. The second overload will take a Boolean parameter and will represent whether we want to retrieve books currently available or those already checked out. I'm now going to write the implementation function. I'm going to declare its parameter with the any type since it needs to be able to accept either strings or booleans, and I'm going to give it the very generic name book property. I'll create a constant to store all of the books in the library and then another one that will store the array of titles matching the criteria passed to the function. I'll use a code snippet to paste in a chunk of code that will handle the case when we pass a string parameter. The code checks the type of the book property parameter. If it's a string, then it loops over all of the books looking for those whose author matches the string passed to the function. When it finds a match, it adds the title to the found titles array. I'll use another snippet for the code that will handle Boolean parameters. This code is very similar to the first block. It also checks the type of the function parameter. If it's a Boolean, it loops over the books checking to see if the available property matches the value passed to the function. Passing true to the function will return books that are available, and passing false will return those already checked out. At the end of the function, I just returned the found titles array. Let's now declare a new variable named Herman's Books and assign it the array returned from the function. Notice that once I type the parentheses on the function, Visual Studio Code knows that there are two overloads for this function and shows them to us in the little code completion pop-up. You can see that this is version 1 of 2 and it takes a string as a parameter. I'll hit the down arrow on my keyboard and it tells us the next one is version 2 of 2 and that it takes a Boolean parameter. I'm first going to call the string version and pass it Herman Melville. I'll then use the arrow function I'm so fond of to log the results. I'll hit F5 to run it and it correctly logs Moby Dick to the console. I'm now going to refactor the variable name to be checked out books, and I'm going to pass false to the getTitles function. There are no red squiggly lines, so we know this is a perfectly valid way to call the function. I'll run it again and we can see that A Farewell to Arms is the only book currently checked out.